Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We live in a world that idolizes popularity and social validation. The number of friends or followers someone has is often equated with their worth, success, or happiness. Yet this notion, though widespread, is deeply flawed. A man who walks with a small circle or even alone can be the most secure man in the room. Why? Because true security is not measured by the crowd, but by character, discernment, and authenticity. Today, I'll break this concept into three key ideas. When a man can walk alone or with a select few, it's not a sign of isolation, it's a mark of strength. Solitude, when embraced, is one of the most profound tools for self-discovery and growth. In solitude, distractions are stripped away, leaving nothing but your unfiltered thoughts, emotions, and desires. It is here, in the quiet moments, that you come face to face with who you are and what you believe. We live in a world that is constantly on. There is always noise, a relentless stream of opinions, advice, and distractions. It's easy to get swept up in it, to let the voices of others shape your choices, your opinions, and even your values. But solitude creates a break from that. It allows you to listen to the one voice that truly matters, your own. In solitude, you can reflect on your experiences, examine your actions, and confront the truths you might otherwise avoid. Consider the nature of a tree. A tree that stands alone must develop stronger roots to survive. It digs deep into the soil, drawing from unseen depths to anchor itself firmly to the earth. Its strength comes from within, not from the support of the forest around it. In the same way, solitude forces you to develop internal strength. You become grounded in your identity, no longer swayed by the winds of public opinion or external validation. In solitude, you also come to terms with your flaws. And this is not a bad thing. It's essential. Only by acknowledging your imperfections can you begin to refine yourself. The man who walks alone often emerges more disciplined, more self-aware, and more principled. He doesn't rely on others to distract him from his shortcomings or mask his insecurities. Instead, he works through them. He faces his fears, his anxieties, and his regrets with courage. Some may argue that solitude is lonely, but that's a superficial view. True solitude isn't about cutting yourself off from others. It's about learning to be content with your own company. It's about discovering that you are enough. You don't need constant reassurance or validation because your sense of self-worth is no longer dependent on external factors. The man who has mastered solitude knows that his identity is his own to define. He is not shaped by trends, peer pressure, or societal expectations. He stands on his own 2 feet, secure in who he is. And when he does choose to engage with others, he does so from a place of authenticity, not neediness. His relationships become richer and more meaningful because they are built on mutual respect, not desperation for approval. In solitude, the seeds of resilience are planted. A man who knows himself deeply is a man who cannot be easily shaken. His decisions are rooted in his principles, not swayed by fleeting emotions or external pressures. And that clarity of purpose is a rare and powerful thing. In a world that glorifies visibility and social validation, discernment is often overlooked. Yet discernment, the ability to choose carefully, thoughtfully, and intentionally, is a cornerstone of true security. A man who surrounds himself with a small, trusted circle is not antisocial or distant. He is discerning. He understands that not every person who crosses his path is meant to be in his life, and he's unafraid to make those distinctions. Popularity is easy to pursue. It's built on casting a wide net, being agreeable to all, and sacrificing authenticity in exchange for approval. But discernment demands a different kind of courage. It requires saying no when it's easier to say yes, drawing firm boundaries, and refusing to compromise your values for the sake of belonging. The discerning man chooses his relationships based on depth, trust, and shared purpose rather than proximity or convenience. There's a profound strength in this selectivity. Popularity often breeds superficiality. The more people you try to please, the more fragmented your identity becomes. You start molding yourself to fit the expectations of others, losing sight of who you are in the process. But the discerning man resists this temptation. He doesn't concern himself with how many people like him because he's not seeking external validation, and his relationships are not trophies. They are meaningful, chosen with care, and sustained through mutual respect. Discernment is not about arrogance or superiority. It's about wisdom. It's about recognizing that not every relationship is beneficial and not every opinion deserves attention. A man who lacks discernment is vulnerable to manipulation, influence, and emotional chaos. Without clear boundaries, he becomes a product of his environment, constantly shifting to accommodate others' expectations. But the discerning man stands firm. He knows who he is, what he values, and who he allows into his life. Choosing a small circle doesn't mean shutting people out. It means choosing depth over breadth. A small circle is often composed of those who challenge you to grow, who tell you the truth even when it's hard, and who stand by you through adversity. These are relationships that nourish rather than drain. They are built on substance, not surface-level pleasantries. The pursuit of popularity, on the other hand, often leads to exhaustion. The more you try to maintain a wide social circle, the more fragmented your attention becomes. You end up spreading yourself thin, giving little pieces of yourself to many people without ever forming deep, lasting connections. And at the end of the day, quantity does not equal quality. The man who pursues popularity may find himself surrounded by people, yet feel profoundly lonely. Discernment also cultivates self-respect. When you choose your relationships carefully, you're sending a message to yourself. I am worthy of meaningful connections. You stop tolerating toxic behaviors, empty conversations, or relationships that drain your energy. Instead, you invest your time and energy where it counts, with those who uplift you, challenge you, and share your vision for life. To live with discernment is to live with intention. Every decision becomes purposeful, every relationship meaningful. It's a mindset that doesn't chase after the fleeting, but rather values the enduring. The discerning man may not be popular, but he is rich in character, in trust, and in peace. In a world driven by external validation, internal validation is a rare and profound form of strength. Most people are conditioned from an early age to seek approval, whether from parents, teachers, peers, or society at large. We're taught that success is measured by applause and that our worth is reflected in how others perceive us. But the man who understands the power of internal validation steps off that exhausting treadmill. He no longer lives for others' approval because he knows his value doesn't depend on it. Internal validation is rooted in self-awareness. It begins with understanding your own values, strengths, and flaws. It means recognizing your achievements without needing someone else to praise them. It also means taking ownership of your mistakes without being crushed by criticism. This kind of self-awareness fosters a deep, unshakable confidence, the kind that cannot be easily eroded by the opinions of others. A man who seeks external validation is often at the mercy of those around him. He is like a ship without an anchor, blown off course by every passing wind. If someone criticizes him, he's devastated. If someone praises him, he's elated. His self-worth rises and falls with every comment, every gesture, every like or follow. But this constant need for reassurance is exhausting and unsustainable. No one can control how others respond to them all the time. And chasing that control only leads to frustration and insecurity. The man who validates himself, on the other hand, is grounded. He doesn't need to be the loudest voice in the room or the most popular figure in his social circle. His confidence comes from knowing who he is and standing firm in his beliefs. He sets his own standards for success rather than relying on others to define them for him. And because his self-worth is internal, it's not easily shaken by failure or rejection. He learns from setbacks rather than being crushed by them. Internal validation also frees a man from the trap of comparison. In a culture that celebrates constant competition, it's easy to fall into the habit of measuring yourself against others. But this comparison game is a losing battle. There will always be someone wealthier, more attractive, more accomplished. A man who seeks validation from comparison is forever chasing a moving target, never satisfied and always anxious. But the man who validates himself doesn't need to win that game. He's content with his own progress, his own journey, his own path. This doesn't mean he's complacent. On the contrary, internal validation drives real growth. A man who is secure in himself is more likely to take risks because he's not afraid of failure. He doesn't need to succeed to earn others' approval. He succeeds because he wants to, because it aligns with his goals and values. And if he fails, he doesn't wallow in shame. He learns, adapts, and moves forward. There's also a deep sense of peace that comes with internal validation. A man who validates himself is no longer burdened by the need to please everyone. He no longer bends over backward to meet the expectations of others. He's not swayed by gossip, rumors, or criticism. Instead, he moves through life with quiet confidence, focused on what truly matters to him. This peace is not the absence of ambition, it's the presence of clarity. Internal validation also fosters authenticity. When you no longer seek approval, you're free to be yourself, fully and unapologetically. You no longer feel the need to wear masks or play roles to fit in. You speak your truth, act according to your values, and live with integrity. And ironically, this authenticity often attracts the right people into your life. Those who respect and appreciate you for who you truly are, not who you pretend to be. The power of internal validation lies in its resilience. It doesn't crumble under pressure or criticism. It doesn't fluctuate with trends or opinions. It's a constant, steady force that carries a man through the highs and lows of life. And in a world that constantly seeks to define and control us, that kind of self-anchored strength is rare and invaluable. So remember this, the man with no friends or a very small circle may seem distant or mysterious to others, but in reality, he's not lonely, he's free. Free from the need for approval, free from superficial relationships, free to be himself, fully and unapologetically. And that is true security. Thank you.